those of you who were not able to make it on Friday night and Saturday, Shannon Schreyer was here to equip us, not just teach us, but equip us. And that's one of our calls here in this house here, is to equip people, right? That's what Ephesians tells us. You know, he's given the apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, and teachers for the equipping of the body so that the saints can do the work, right? It's not Shannon's job or Nancy's job or my job or Kathy's job to do all the work. Amen. It's our job to equip you to do the work. And so our goal was to bring someone in who could do some equipping around healing, because we really feel like God's highlighting that to make it more of a normal, natural part of what we do here in our culture. To so establish it that when people come into this building here, if someone needs healing, you're not looking to leadership or someone else. You're going like, I don't know how to do this. Let me just pray for you right now. And release healing. And he's done an awesome job of doing it. For those of you who are doing that, I was sharing with him, I thought the greatest compliment he received was from John LaPointe, saying that you made this so easy. You made it so accessible, so simple that, you know, we can do this. You know, this isn't rocket science, you know, and this isn't something we have to attain to. This is something we get to enter into. So Shannon, so appreciate you spending that time and doing that with us. It was just amazing. Nancy, I'm going to bring you up, if you come up.
No. Can I bring my junk?
Bring it on.
Is that my junk?
When those of us who went to the barge this year, and we knew when Shannon was going to come, we all were talking. We all basically had the same thing come to us kind of independently. You know, we need to be sure that Nancy can come. This is a family thing, you know? And I really feel like God's putting them into our family. Don't you feel that?
Yes.
Yeah. And so Shannon yesterday said, I don't think I'm supposed to preach. Nancy's supposed to preach today. I'm going, so we wanted to give you a little bit of gift, Nancy, for being here and for being willing to step in at a moment's notice. We're just going to give him a check.
Okay. I like these. Which is going to be yours anyway.
But anyhow, this couple is from Ogden, Utah, and they have a pastor at church there. They're senior leaders in a church there called God's Place. Since the early 2000s, they did a planting work in Salt Lake City before that, for a few years before doing that. Amazing ministry there with a body of people that are doing quite a number of things. And but one of the things we talked about in their journey back up here is the amount of people that they're feeding through a ministry that's there, and thousands of people, literally thousands of people that are getting fed on a regular, ongoing basis as part of the work that they're doing there. And they travel around and do ministry in a variety of places, and lots of places around the world where they have influence and impact. And I've gotten to know Shannon a couple of visits to LaBarge, but also we connect on a monthly basis on Zoom. And so it's just been a joy to get to know him, to get to know them, and to spend time with them. So I felt like it was important for Shannon to introduce his own wife in a little bit more detail, to tell us a little bit more about what they do. But one of the things I prompted him with is I'm going to ask him a question, and I asked him to do as part of this introduction. And you know, we kind of step into vulnerability here, right? A little bit doing that. So one of the questions I want you to answer in your introduction is, how has her presence in your ministry life mattered? And of what value has that been to you?
Oh, man.
Don't forget you're going home with me.
Well, when you asked that, it almost overwhelmed me, honestly, because everything that we've done together since marriage has been ministry as a team. And we absolutely believe that team ministry should be the thing that's led first and foremost in front of people and together. I mean, there's seasons that we go through that she talked about yesterday, that in a marriage, you have seasons where one person may be highlighted more during one season because of just the favor of God opening up on their life. And we've experienced that in in multiple ways through the raising of our children. That was a season for Nancy. We felt like we couldn't be released into an international call until we got our kids to a place where they were able to kind of stand on their own two legs, you know. And so we didn't do that, and she was an amazing sport. I would go on a few trips, but we, for the most part, stayed home. But I'm telling you, from the time that we met in a music ministry out of Pensacola, Florida. And we traveled all over the country on a bus. That's where we really got connected with our hearts. Didn't take me long to figure out that she's the one that I wanted. I proposed to her a month after I met her. If you've got young children, they probably don't want to hear that. But, you know, I figured you find a good thing, you better close the deal. And so I jumped on that pretty fast, and she said yes. I was amazed.
Me too.
Yeah. But it has been, we've been married for 31 years, and it's been absolutely amazing. Good times, bad times, thick times, skinny times. Yeah.
Trade places with that.
Yeah. I've been through the fat Elvis years and the skinny Elvis years, but in terms of my body shapes and all that, but we've lived it all just with an extreme passion to figure out what Jesus is doing in our lives and what He wants to do through us. And she has been absolutely the greatest support for me personally. I remember when I felt like I was really called to pastoral ministry, it meant that I would have to go back and finish up some education. And I hadn't been in education for a while, and she absolutely pushed me all the way through. And that's what I think real marriage does, is it allows you to become better than you were before you started.
Yeah, amen.
And I've become a better man, a better father because of her. Amen. And she has been an amazing, amazing gift to me in our lives, our family's life, our church life. Now, honestly, to a group of folks that we have influence with around the nations. And so, I love you, baby. And it's really an honor. You're going to be really blessed because she just carries such a unique perspective on the kingdom. And she carries the true heartbeat of a mom, but a mom who knows how to lead like a general.
Yeah.
You know, she won't tolerate people to wallow around in victim mentality very long.
Sorry.
It is pretty, yeah. And so she spurs people with love into an action to become better than they were before. And so it's amazing. So I love you. Yeah.
Somebody record that? Will I mess up your life? Can I hold this down? Because I'm a walker. And otherwise, I'm just going to climb back up on that step every few seconds, pretending I'm looking at my outline. I have one, but I really don't, yeah. I'm bad. I'm kind of I'll just warn you up top. You may not know it because you can't see my outline, but I'm a bit of a pinball preacher. So, you know what a pinball machine is. So follow along. Pay attention. So, and I have glasses because I'm so very 55. I try to print things in like 16 font, you know, so I don't have to put my glasses on, but it's still blurry today, so, you know, whatever. Where's my acoustic player? There you are. Hey, when I was looking at you, I heard the Lord say, steadfast faithfulness.
Amen.
You're a man of steadfast faithfulness. And then I got a picture of this beautiful little bubbling brook. And I felt like the Lord said that's how He sees you, and that you bring Him quiet delight.
Yeah.
You know how you just have some places in your life that you love to just hang out and be because they just bring you quiet delight, and that's how the Lord sees you. You bring Him quiet delight, and He just loves being with you.
So good.
Yeah. So, and I'm going to ask this one. I don't know. I got this Friday night. Honestly, it was so weird I didn't say it, but I'll try it now. Is there by any chance here somebody named Marigold, or that's a nickname for you? It may not be, or I may just have missed it and done, you know, something. Okay, should I tell the rest of the word or just let it go? I can tell you the rest of the word, and I don't know who it's for, or we'll catch it. But yeah, what I felt like, it was interesting because we were talking with Jim on the way from the airport, and he was telling us that he felt like the Lord was saying that this weekend was about harvest. And I felt like when I heard that, so I don't know if it was a name or if it was somebody, there aren't any marigolds around here that I see. I'm not a flower person. So I was just kind of like, Lord, why did I hear that? But I felt like the Lord said, for whomever, that it was, that this is a time, it's not just this weekend, but it's a time of harvest in your life. So I don't know whether somebody, you can throw it to somebody if you know who it is or whatever, but I felt like there were things, it's you. Why'd you just sit there, woman?
It took me a minute to connect. We have marigolds in huge pots on either side of our front door.
Okay, all right, so I feel like the Lord is saying there's things, it's a season of harvest for you, and I felt like it was stuff that you dreamed about even from like 20 years ago. Like you've waited on the fruition of the harvest for like even around 20 years.
Wow.
And that the Lord is saying it's time. It's a season of harvest. And he's bringing all those desires, those things that you have sown into with prayer and dreaming and wishing and hoping. And he's saying, now it's harvest time. So, yeah. Okay, awesome, good. You know, I'm not afraid to be wrong. I'm not even afraid to be crazy. I don't mind either way. Doesn't bother me a bit. Bring it on. Okay, so and I was praying this weekend. When I got here, when we come into a church, you try to pray and say, God, what are you doing here? What's your heart for this church? What are you doing here? We love this body. I told many people I met many of you in LaBarge. I got to go to LaBarge. It was my first time to go for that meeting. I've been to LaBarge before. It's a hot spot. You can't not go. And so we thought about Vegas, and we're like, nope, LaBarge. So we went to LaBarge. It's a big time. I married a Wyoming boy. They know a good time. So we went to LaBarge, and I got to go this summer, and I met a bunch of you there, but I said it's so nice to meet people in their context. Do you know what I mean? To be able to put them in their family and put them in their setting, and I love that. It just helps me a lot. So I love this family. We'd love to be part of the family. We'll just barge our way in like that. We can be like the weird aunt and uncle. Everybody needs a weird aunt and uncle at your family reunion, and we volunteer. I will be the aunt that you roll your eyes at and try to get away from, and I just come anyway. I'm so good at that. I am good at that. So, anyway, so I'm asking the Lord, like, okay, Lord, what are you doing here? That's awesome. And what I want to speak on today is really what I heard the Lord talking about. Are you noon people? Because if so, I'm going to have to kick this out. No. Okay, all right, okay. Well, I promise it won't be a marathon. For some of you it may feel that way, but it won't be. For some of you it'll be like a 30-minute child labor. You'll be like, oh my gosh, this is never ending. But it's 30 minutes you're going to live.
People leave, they
So,
come
okay,
out.
all right. So, I know just slight history. I know hardly anything about this body. I do know that the Lord delights. You've been through some transition, and the Lord delights at the way you've loved and how you've transitioned. It really brings him joy. You love well. You love well in this body. And it brings him joy. And I felt like the verse I heard over you was, a weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning.
Yes.
And what I felt like the Lord was doing is I feel like he's bringing you into a new season of a new way. The sentence that comes to me is a new way to war. But it's not just about warring. It's about how you live your life. It's about the stance you have. And so I want to talk to you today about how you war with a kingdom mindset. Okay? I told Shannon, I said, I just got this new computer and I don't know how to make it not disappear. So I'll be hitting it a lot as I speak. I don't want this to come off critical at all. It's not critical. I already know the Lord is so proud of you. He's so proud of you and the way you love. But I feel like he's bringing you into a new season. So I want to talk to you about ways that we war and what it looks like to war and live the kingdom way in a kingdom mindset. And so I'm going to give you kind of a history of Shannon and I and how we, kind of our story over the last, maybe 25 years? of doing warfare, and along with that, doing deliverance, doing that kind of stuff. We pastored our first church almost exactly 25 years ago. We took our first senior pastorate in Missouri. We knew nothing about, well, this much. We knew this much. We had a very nice, neat little box that the demonic stayed in. They were very sweet with us and accommodating, I'm sure. And they stayed in this little box for us, and we just had very little experience with warfare, with anything like that. We just didn't know anything about it. We had a young girl in our church who, just the sweetest, sweetest girl, and she and her family came to our church. She was probably 15, and she had been through horrid abuse. And because of that, had some demonic attachments. I don't even think they were her own doing at all. I really just think it was from the trauma and the abuse. So she would manifest when the glory of God would enter the place, and we honestly didn't know. See, if you're not experienced with the demonic, and if you don't have the discernment, you won't know the difference between a demonic manifestation and a God manifestation, or just a flesh manifestation. So, sometimes you have people, and God will come on somebody, and there's a physical manifestation happening, and sometimes it's not. Those are the three choices you get. You know that, right? I'm sure you have that teaching around here. You know that. You can have a fleshly manifestation. Somebody's just kind of carried away or getting attention. You can have a God manifestation. It's beyond their control. God's really moving on them. And you can have a demonic manifestation. There's a demonic presence there tweaking them, right? Those are your three options with any manifestation. And so many times, if you don't have the discernment, you'll look at somebody manifesting, and if you think all things spiritual are God, you'll be like, more Lord, more. And meanwhile, the person is like completely tweaked by a demon, and you're yelling, more Lord. Because you don't have the experience, or you don't have the discernment. So we were kind of in that spot with this girl, and we didn't know what to do with her. It was so new to us. So that kind of started us learning what that looked like, and this is not all about demons, so hang in there. Then we moved to Utah. We pastor in Utah right now. We moved to Utah 23 years ago, last month. And in the words of, we had a guest come one time who does a lot of deliverance stuff, and he said to us at lunch, "Your demons around here are weird." And I was like, yeah. But just the kind of a tweak of Utah. But we had to go through this journey, and here's my point. When we first came and when we first journeyed with things, we had a lot of stuff go on at our house and blah, blah, blah. And, Shannon had a principality show up one night over his bed. I slept through it. I'm immensely perceptive. And slept through the whole thing. This principality unfolds itself over Shannon and says he's going to kill his whole family because he knows why we're there. And I'm just sleeping through it. So anyway, I was glad to be there for you, babe. And we had a lot of stuff go on like that, and when we first came, this was our warfare stance. We're rebuking, and we're cursing things, and we're doing war, and and I am the youngest, and I have big brothers, so I know how to get my bulldog on. I know how to do it. I am a warrior. I'm like, and so that was our mindset. That was our mindset when we first came. It wasn't a very pleasant way to war. Now, I know that war in itself, physical war, is not a pleasant thing. Physical war is miserable. It's hard for my generation even, except with rare exception, it's hard for my generation to understand the price paid by those who've gone to war. I am beyond grateful for those who have, and I understand that I can't even really grasp what they've gone through. But in the kingdom, we might have physical evidence of a spiritual war, but we don't wage a spiritual war. I mean, we don't wage war like they do in the physical.
Yeah.
This is not a kingdom warring look. Keep praying, honey. So far you're not getting through. It's not going easy enough yet. So, here are some signs that you're not warring with a kingdom mindset. And I'll just tell you this first. A kingdom mindset in war is a mindset of peace.
Yeah.
See, we don't war because we need to win. We war because we already won. And somebody's trying to encroach upon our territory. But we already won. And we didn't do it. Jesus did it. But he made it, when we died with him, we got in on the bounty. So we war from a whole different perspective than a physical, earthly battle. Here, let me just give you some things about, these are some signs you could tell that maybe you're not in peace and you're not warring that way. Are you worried? Now see, I'm gonna start meddling, so just get ready. Are you worried? You worried about things? What does the Bible say? You could, Matthew chapter 6, I think it starts in verse 25 or so, but gives this whole tirade about don't worry about this, and don't worry about that, and don't worry about this, and don't worry about that. And he gives all these examples, and in the end he says, quit worrying about tomorrow. Today's got enough trouble. So are you worried about it? I will tell you that many times, I don't know whether men are like this or not, but for women, I think we feel like if we're not worrying, we don't care. Anybody else feel that way? Like, isn't it, sometimes it's frustrating to look at somebody who's not worried about the same thing we're worried about, and we're like, you just don't even care. Because we don't want to say, why are you biblical and I'm sinning? I'm just telling you. If the Bible tells you not to do something and you do it, is it sin? So we can justify and we can candy coat and we can, you can make anything sound righteous. That doesn't make it righteous. So worrying is a sin. It doesn't show that you care. It doesn't show that you have great love and concern. You may care and you have great love and concern, but worrying is still not a biblical outlet for you. So if you're worried, you are not battling with the kingdom mindset that you should have. Okay? What else? Are you anxious? Are you nervous? Are you anxious? Are you having trouble with your stomach? Are you having trouble with your blood pressure? Are you having trouble? Hives, shingles. Oh, sorry, I just slapped somebody. I didn't mean to. I'm not saying that, I get hives because I'm allergic to mice, but it's not because I'm worried. I'm not saying everybody with some kind of allergies. I'm saying, are you anxious? Are you nervous? Can you not sleep at night because you're just obsessing over whatever it is in your life that you're obsessing over? That is not a kingdom mindset, and that's not from God. You said the verse, be anxious for nothing. Yeah. But in everything, with prayer and supplication, make your requests known to God. It doesn't say don't pray about it, don't ask him about it. It just says don't be anxious about it. A few years ago, probably about 10 years ago now or something like that, one of our children lost their brain for a while. And it was, I say that jokingly, but it is the most painful thing I've ever gone through in my life, honestly, the most painful thing. I assumed that if you raised your children and you introduced them to Jesus and you show them how beautiful Jesus was, that they would just automatically always be in love with Jesus. And this child is wonderful now, but for a while they lost their brain. And I've never been through anything like that. There were nights when I would get up and Shannon, I would get dressed for him to take me to the hospital because I thought I was having a heart attack. I didn't know, I'd always heard the phrases of people dying with a broken heart, and I didn't know that was a reality, but it is. It is. And I can remember one day, I was sitting at my island in my kitchen, and I was reading an article by a man named Bobby Connor. And in the article, and I'm in the middle of this. I'm in the middle of it. See, Shannon was raised heathen, so he understood that you can come out of it and be amazing, but I was not raised heathen. And I was, sorry. I'm just being real with you. And in general, I was not a perfect child, but in general, I'm a very obedient person. When Shannon tells you all the rules he breaks, yeah, I'm like, if you get in his way when he wants prayer, you're down. You're out. He's gonna take you out. And I'm like, we're rude. That's such bad manners. Do you know, that's me, I'm the manners person. So I was reading this article and I'm in the middle of this. Man, I'm just grieving and I don't know what to do. And I'm so grieved, even if the child turned around, which they did, I was so grieved at all the loss. Because they had just experienced things that we had done everything to protect them from experiencing it. Yeah. And so I was grieving over the loss. And I'm reading this article and Bobby says, there's a phrase that says a mother is only as happy as her saddest child. Yeah. And I'm like, it's so true! You're right, Bobby, it's so true! And then I read the next sentence and he says, but the Bible says not to worry and not to be anxious, and so it's a sin for you to only be as happy as your saddest child. And I was like, shut up, Bobby! But it was a turning point for me. I don't know, maybe this is weird, and I don't know if this helps anyone else or not, but it really did help me. Understanding that it was sin gave me permission to do what was right.
That's so good.
Does that make any sense?
Yes.
Like, understanding what I'm doing is not concern, it's actually sin, gave me permission to look ridiculous and do what was right, which was to not worry and to just hand that child over to the Lord. Did it mean that we didn't have rules and we didn't, do things to help that person get through it? But it actually, that might sound weird to you, but understanding what sin is gives me permission to do what's right when there's pressure to do what is culturally accepted. Yeah. Even church culturally accepted.
Tell them what Carolyn told you.
Oh, Lord. Do you guys know who Bobby Connor is? Do you know, he's so wonderful. And his wife, her name is Carolyn. Bobby is as redneck can be. He was a mess and a half before the Lord saved him. The Lord actually delivered him right in the middle of trying to shoot a bullet through his mouth. And the Lord literally came in the car and saved him. And during this time, he's a prophet to the nations, like a real deal prophet. Like, his joke is, people walk into a room with the prophet and they think, oh, hope he doesn't know, and it's like, too late. I already know. So Carolyn they were so very sweet during this time, and Carolyn, she would call me and check on me all the time, and their oldest boy lost his brain for a long time, and so she knew what I was going through. And she would call me and check on me and see how I was doing, and she told me, she said, now, I'm sorry, I have to do it with a Texas accent as best I can because it's just not Carolyn if you don't. she'd say, oh my gosh, Nancy, I'm gonna tell you now, don't you do what I did. Don't you get all sad, and don't you be all, let this just totally run your life. Don't you let this run your life. Now, you know the end of the story. You know that. You read the end of the book, and you know it. She said, I'm going to tell you right now what you need to do. You go have a party in the middle of your pain. And can I tell the rest of it?
Oh, yeah. This
is funny. I'm so sorry. Carolyn's so proper, so this one just cracked me up, and I was like, I can never tell anybody this quote, but I will. So she said, I hate the devil. I just hate him. I'm telling you, sometimes I just give him the finger. I was like, so we literally did, and that's part of what we're going to talk about in this. We literally did that day, the day she told me that. We didn't have much money back then, but the day she told me that, I went out and I bought the very best food I could buy. I bought the best steaks I could buy, and that night I set the china out on the table and we had a feast. Wow. And in the middle of me being in a season where I would get up at night and think, I'm having a heart attack, I have to go to the hospital. And if you know me, I'm not like I could cut my leg off and it's Monty Python. It's only a flesh wound. You know, that's me. I'm not the hospital person, you know. I go to the hospital to have babies and it's just for the babies' benefit, not mine. But I'm just not that person. So if I think I need to go to the hospital, I'm extreme. And we had a feast. And we sat and we had a party in the middle of our pain, because our actions declared truth.
There you go.
Even if my heart wasn't in it yet, my actions declared truth.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
I will tell you that too. Like, as you make this journey, when you first start making a statement that you don't fully believe with all your heart yet, sometimes when you first make the statement, you make it because you know it's factual. So you make the statement like, it's going to be all right. You don't really believe it. But you don't believe that God's a liar. So you're kind of, I hate the American definition of hope, because it's not the biblical definition of hope at all. The biblical definition of hope is so much stronger. But when we first say it, you might say, I hope it's going to be all right. Or it's going to be all right. And we don't really believe it, but we know that's the right answer, so we say it. And then as time goes on, when you get a little more conviction in it, then you're like, okay, I'm not quite sure how. I don't know how yet, but it's going to be all right. It's going to be all right. And then when you actually believe who God is, and you actually believe how good he is, and you actually believe what he's going to do, all of a sudden you're like, this is going to be so good. This is going to be all right. This child's going to get her brain back. And she's going to be amazing. And she is. So I just want to encourage you that you don't always have to, I love the phrase, I don't remember the girl's name that said it, some chick out of Bethel, I don't remember her name, but she said, feelings are like toddlers. You can't let them drive, but you can't throw them in the trunk either. It's a great phrase. You know, I'm not telling you to ignore your feelings, you know, but you can't let them drive. You can't let your feelings drive. They cannot be in charge of you. That's not a kingdom mindset either. All right. Let me pretend I'm going to use this. All right. So, what does it look like to we talked about a few ways that it looks like when you're not in a kingdom mindset and you're not warring with a kingdom mindset. What does it look like when you do? When your first thing we talked about, you're going to be at peace. At peace. Here's what I have to say to you. And I don't know, what was it? Donald Trump's press secretary the other day said something to a reporter. She said, well, I can explain it to you, but I can't understand it for you. I love that girl. I love that girl with all my heart. With everything in me, I love that girl. I want to be her mom. Just so I can take credit, but I can't, So I'm going to explain this to you. Pray the Holy Spirit helps you understand what I stumbled through. be really honest with ourselves. If we're really going to live in peace, if we're really going to live in joy, if we're really going to live with the mind of Christ, which the Bible tells us we have to be really honest with ourselves. Like, we have to be honest and say, I'm saying all the right things right now, but I am not in peace. Therefore, something's wrong. Now, peace doesn't have anything to do with your circumstances. It doesn't. It will try. It will try. Satan will try to get your peace to be dependent upon your circumstances, but that is not God-given peace. So, we have to be really honest. Really honest. Like, am I worrying? Am I anxious? Am I sinning? Am I peaceful, or am I just trying to convince myself that I'm peaceful? There's a difference between being something and trying to convince yourself that you're something. You know, when hell comes against you and this is your response, I'm victorious, I'm victorious, I'm victorious, I'm victorious against you, I am. You're not victorious. You're not victorious. There's a difference. I don't know, I have two favorite lines. I think it's in the Return of the King. You know, the Lord of the Rings series. So I think it's in the Return of the King that both of these happen. One of them is when Eowyn stands up and kills the principality. And he says, "No man kills me." And she rips off her helmet and says, "I am no man." I'm like, you get him, baby. I love that. And then my other favorite line and my favorite character in the whole thing is the dwarf. I know that's a politically inappropriate thing, but that's what they call him. He's a dwarf, and he's the little bearded guy. And my favorite line in the whole thing is when they're completely surrounded in that castle. I mean surrounded by the hordes of hell are surrounding them. And they get over to this like window, and he says to the elf, they look out and it's everywhere. They're everywhere. And he looks at him and the elf is like, "Oh, there's no way." And the dwarf goes, "Oh, I think we can take him." It's my favorite line. My favorite line in the whole movie. And then he goes, he can't reach. And he goes, "Throw me out there, but don't tell anybody." It's my favorite. I think we can take him. And he wasn't trying to convince himself. He was saying, "I think we can take him. We're going to take him." I love that. I love that line. And they won because he believed it. So he actually got out there and fought the battle. He wasn't retreating, trying to convince himself he could take him. He was saying, "I think we can take him. Let's go." That's a kingdom mindset. I'm not trying to talk myself into this. I actually believe it. Don't beat yourself up when you don't believe it, but you do need to go through the steps and you need to go through the repentance to actually get there. To where you do believe it. You actually do believe it. Let me tell you here's some ways. You're going to be in peace. You're going to rest well. Do you sleep well at night? I know sometimes health issues or this or that can do that. I'm not talking about that. Do you sleep well at night? Or are you anxious? Are you worried? Are you obsessed? You know, during the day, can you be present? Are you present during your day, or are you completely obsessed with what's going on? That'll tell you whether or not you've left it with the Lord. Did you leave it with the Lord, or are you constantly carrying this burden around with you? And you can't do anything else. No one can have a conversation with you, because the whole time you're just straining under the burden that you're not supposed to be carrying anyway, because you're not in peace. It's a hard thing to, I don't know if it's as tricky for men as it is for women. Men are better at compartmentalizing, and I know sometimes that can go too far the other way, but I really do think in some cases it's a God-given gift. All right, here's some reasons you may not be in victory. Thank you, I'll take it. Number one, if you're not living in victory, if you're not living in peace, it's because part of it is you really don't believe in the goodness of God. Ouch. watching because God has like tattooed these things on my forehead. Hello, Nancy? Why are you worried about this? You don't think I'm not good. I was joking. That was a joke. I'm good part of the time. I'm good to everybody else, but I'm not good to you. Jeremiah 29:11 is for everybody else. Maybe your stuff's too big for me. Gee, how will God ever figure this out? Bless his heart. We gotta be honest with ourselves. If you don't believe God's gonna take care of something, it doesn't mean you know how he's gonna do it. But there's a difference between God, I don't know how you're gonna do this, and God, I can't wait to see how you do this.
Whoa. Whoa.
I'm not telling you I get this right all the time, but I am telling you that I get straightened out a lot. And God will say, hey, hello? What do you really believe in about me? Who do you really think I am? Do I really love you? Can you really trust me? Sometimes we talked about this a little bit. We actually think this is what it has to look like. You know, when we used to try to do warfare against things that were going on in our life, we thought, was the spiritual look. You know, we thought we were supposed to look like we were in transition and labor all the time. You know, you're going through 20 bottles of oil every week because you're anointing every part of your house. Sorry, now I've offended people. I'm not trying to offend you, but I hate to say this, that the Jesus is there whether or not you anoint your house. I'm not saying it's not a good, it's fine, it's fine. But oil's not magic. And angels are way more powerful than oil. It's a good thing to do, but if you think your house is being attacked because you didn't put oil over your door, you need a lesson. I'm sorry. I'm leaving tomorrow. But we do it because we think that's what we're supposed to do, and we're grasping for solutions. We desperately want solutions, and so I'm not saying they're bad things to do. I'm not saying, you know, some of us like grab our kids and anoint the kids, and they're like scrambling to get out of the door, and they go everywhere smelling like frankincense and myrrh. And I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying God's way bigger.
Yeah.
He's way bigger. So He's way bigger. You don't always have to do warfare like you're in transition and labor. I know that men don't get it. Remember the part where she slapped you? That was transition. That was that part. If you wondered where she was. Okay. Another thing, for some of us, the reason we stay in that is because, okay, kumbaya is what we say when we say at our house when I got something awkward to say, but I need to say it anyway. Kumbaya. But some of us are actually attracted to the drama. We may think that looks like we care, or actually we're so used to trauma we don't know how to live life without it.
Wow.
Or maybe we feel like we're not going to get attention any other way. Shannon talked a little bit about that yesterday with being ill. Sometimes it's true with warfare. Or maybe we desperately, and it's a good thing, we want to be a righteous, powerful person of God, but maybe we don't know how else to look like that without talking about how much warfare we're engaged in. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm really not. I'm seriously not. But I'm saying none of that is God's plan for you. God doesn't want you to live in trauma and warfare and demonic attack all your life. That is not his plan for you. Jesus slept in a boat in the middle of a storm. Bill Johnson says the only storm that you have authority over is the one you can sleep through.
Oh, wow.
And Bill is always butting in people's business. He is. He's always doing that. It's true, though. It's true. And I mean, I have to correct myself all the time, and the Lord corrects me. Sometimes we can get caught up in feeling very righteous by our spiritual battles. it's what Shannon said yesterday. Quit being so excited that you're involved in all this demonic stuff. How about the fact that I died for you and your name's in the Lamb's Book of Life?
Yes, amen.
How about being excited about that one?
Yeah.
You know, when Jesus said, I give you life and life more abundantly, he didn't mean I give you more demons. He meant I give you peace. I give you joy.
Yeah.
So be honest about it. Be honest with yourself and say, do I like the attention I'm getting off this?
Wow.
I have to ask myself that in a lot of things. Honestly, anytime God uses you in any kind of gifting, you have to, I think it's wisdom to ask yourself, like, careful how you're releasing that gift, Nance.
Amen.
You know, the prophetic's moving in you. Careful how you release it, that you don't get some kind of, that it doesn't become a drug to you.
Yeah, that's right.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Like the drug of attention, the drug of admiration, the drug of, I don't want that to be that. I want to live my life in peace. I want to live my life in victory. I want to release his gifts because they're gifts for somebody else. And I want to be just as happy when anybody else releases it as when I release it.
Amen. Yes. That's right.
Okay, let me give you some ways, let me give you some weapons to fight with, and then I'm done. Okay? The first weapon you got to fight with is truth. So when you have stuff come up in your life, the first thing you do, here, this verse, Nehemiah 8? No, I'm sorry. No, because I'm ahead of myself. 2 Corinthians 10, without my glasses it looks like 5. That means it could be a 3, an 8. 5 for the win. 2 Corinthians 10:5. We demolish, this is why I should memorize all this stuff, but I'm so bad at addresses. We demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God. And we take every thought captive and we make it obedient to Christ. It's your job to take every thought captive. It's your job. Sometimes the thoughts are yours because we're ding-dongs. Sometimes the thoughts come from a demonic source. You know, sometimes we have God thoughts. Take it captive, grab it, measure it against the truth of God. If it's truth, it goes straight in your heart. If it's a lie, you throw it away.
Amen.
That's like number one precept of how you live your life and live it with a kingdom mindset. Live by truth. If it's not truth, I don't care how real it feels.
Yeah.
I don't care how real it looks. If it is not truth, it is not God. One time, I'll tell on Shannon because y'all heard him tell the story many times. But when we first took our church, it was quite a experience because we didn't know it. But we took a very seeker-sensitive church, and we didn't know that. We only knew a handful of people in the church, and they were like revivalists. And the church had a reputation for being kind of an on-fire church. It was not the case. So when we took it, we're just being us. You know, we don't know. Anyway, it was rough. It was rough. It was 5 years of rough. But we had Bill Johnson out just a few months into taking the church. And Shannon's talking to Bill, and you know, we've just been slapped so many times by these people. And Shannon's telling Bill his tales of woe, right? And Bill Johnson looks at Shannon and goes, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. He said, what part of that is in God's heart? See, you don't need somebody to pet you. When you're in the middle of a war, you don't need somebody to pet you when the enemy's coming down on you and tell you, oh yeah, I know you're tired. Let's just sit there a little bit longer. You know, they won't be here for another 100 yards. I'd hate for you to die tired. You might as well die rested. No, I don't need somebody to do that. I need somebody to look at me and go, get off your rear and get up and let's go. But I'm tired and it hurts. I don't care. Get up.
That's right.
The wounds of a friend are better than the kisses of an enemy.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you don't have to be harsh, but some of you, when we love people and it doesn't help them, it's enablement.
Yeah, that's right.
And all that does is make them weaker. It makes them weaker, it makes them more dysfunctional. That is not what a true friend does. So tell people the truth. Years ago, man, I just was so frustrated with some people that kept coming to me for counseling and kept coming to me for help. I know you're all saying, why would anybody go to her for counseling? I know. They don't anymore, it's wonderful. I was so frustrated. And I said to the Lord, I feel like one of my callings here is to make them so very thankful for you guys. I'm doing it. They're so thankful. I was so frustrated. And I said to the Lord, man, they just don't ever get it right. How many times I was supposed to meet with them about the same thing? They just keep coming about the same thing. And the Lord said, well, Nancy, you're part of the problem. And I was like, rude? And he said, Nancy, your problem is you don't love your church people like you love your kids. And I was like, well, what do you mean by that? And he said, you love on your kids hard and you tell them the truth hard. And you would never not tell your kids the truth, but these people come to you and they come to you with their problem and you know what the root of the problem is, but you don't want to make them feel bad, so you don't tell them. So you try to give them some little pansy-wansy thing to do that you think might help, and you're praying, I'll tell them. Because you want to be the good guy. And then they go out and they try that pansy-wansy thing you told them, and all it does is make things worse because you didn't tell them the truth. But truth sets you free. He said, you're part of their problem. You're making them worse. And I was like, oh, you're rude. You know? But it's true. We do need to speak the truth in love. Absolutely. If love's not your goal, you're wrong.
Right.
I don't care how right you are. If love's not your goal, you're wrong. So we gotta love them, but we gotta love people enough to tell them the truth.
Yes.
Even when it's hard, because they're not gonna get out of their junk until they hear the truth. Now, you might want to wait till they're ready to listen. Because, him that has ears, let him hear. You can't, you can blah, blah, blah all day and tell the truth to somebody. If they're not ready to listen, it's not going anywhere. Yeah, it's just bouncing off. But anyway, so truth. First thing you do is you have to measure, you gotta measure what you're hearing and see if it's true. Okay, this is what I felt really strongly this church is coming into, and I love this. A second weapon that you have is joy.
Yeah.
Woo! I love it. Joy is a weapon. Joy is a weapon. Nehemiah 8:10 says what? The joy of the Lord is your strength. So when you're tired, you don't need to woe is me. You don't need another bag of chips. You need, that's how our life is like in my house. Joy.
Yeah.
Joy is a weapon.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what goes along with joy, and this is something else too. Paul and Keith Bronte are both great at this. I heard the other day that your brain doesn't know the difference between a fake laugh and a real one. Is that true? Your brain doesn't know the difference. They will laugh at stuff even when they don't feel like laughing at it. And here's the deal. When I first heard people doing that, I was like, that's just weird. It's weird. I don't know. Is that insincere? And I kind of felt like the Lord said, no, it's not insincere. Actually, at first, they're just mocking the devil. A fake laugh is mocking. So when you're laughing the lie the devil's telling you, it's actually mocking the devil.
Right.
And I was like, oh, okay, all right. So joy is a weapon. And joy is your strength. Sadness is not your strength. I understand. I'm not telling you that sometimes you don't need a rest. I know that God is the God of the Sabbath, but that's an ongoing thing. Sabbath is an ongoing thing. It's a lifestyle. So I'm not telling you that. I'm just telling you, sometimes we, again, make excuses and call things what they really aren't. So we call them rest, we call them recoup, and all we're doing is wallowing. And wallowing is not recuperative. It's not. It will just take you farther down the hole. So joy is a weapon. I'll tell you another weapon, worship.
Yes.
Worship is a weapon, and I believe that joyful worship is a weapon.
Yes.
Joyful worship is a weapon. Years ago, one of the first times I remember consciously using this, what would it be, 21 years ago? Our youngest was almost 2, and she all of a sudden had a large bump on the side of her head. And they told us when they figured it all out that it was a slow growing bump, but as a mom, I thought she hit her head. That's how quickly it came up. So we find out that, anyway, she's great now, by the way, she runs the world. But she had cancer, and it grew inside and outside of her skull. So she was a year old, and it was a little bit bigger than a golf ball, this tumor. And we had been going through a series of classes on something, and the day that they set up us, I'm kind of slow, I told you I didn't know what oncology was till they sent us there. I don't know, I'm not a medical person. I got Benadryl and Tylenol. Beyond that, I can give you, ibuprofen, I know that one too. Other than that, I don't know. So they brought a team in, especially for her, on Memorial Day weekend to get her MRI, because they were like, there's something really wrong. But they were pretty calm, and they don't really tell you, So it's a Saturday. We've got sitters for the kids because we're in the final graduation thing of this class we've been going through on, ironically, deliverance. So we have to go in, and we got to get this MRI, and they haven't told us what it is yet. They don't know. It turned out to be she's like the 6th kid to ever have it documented, 6th person in the world. So it's pretty rare. And they tell us, well, we don't know what it is, but it's not good, and I don't know, anyway. So we take her home to the babysitter with the other kids, and we go back to finish this course. And I'm just in there, and we've just heard that our 1-year-old has a massive tumor, pushing in on her brain, sticking out the other side of her head. And I'm like, well, okay. And part of it is I used to actually tell myself, and don't come and tell me this is why it happened, because it's not. But I used to think the worst thing in the world would be for one of my children to have a terminal disease. I couldn't imagine getting through, I couldn't imagine how heartbreaking that would be. And so now here I am. And they were doing worship. We got there as they were finishing worship. And I decided, well, I don't know what Satan's going to do, and I don't know what God's going to do, but here's what I'm going to do. And I can't dance. I'm not a good dancer, but I bounce really well. So I went to the back of the room, and I just bounced with everything in me during the rest of worship. I mean, as hard, as fast, as high, as ridiculous as I could, because I just thought, well, I don't know what's going to happen, but I told Satan this. I said, you will rue the day you ever touched my daughter. I didn't know. I didn't know if she was going to die. I didn't know if I was going to see my first resurrection was going to be my 1-year-old. I didn't know what it was going to be, but I told Satan right then, you get nothing out of this. Nothing. So, worship is a weapon. And you can't worship according to your feelings. You have to worship according to who God is. You have to worship declaring out who He is and how good He is. If you ever notice this, okay, this is my opinion. I think it's true, which I always think of my opinions, but I'm not. Thank you so much. All the husbands are like, I'm married to that. What I'm saying is, I'm not saying this is a revelation from God. I'm not throwing the God card down on this. This is my opinion. Have you ever noticed that what we would define as Jewish music, have you ever noticed it's always in a minor key?
Yeah.
If you're not a musician, a minor key means it always sounds sad. When you have little kids and you're trying to teach them the difference between major and minor, you don't say, is the third lowered? You say, does it sound sad? Minor keys sound sad. Have you ever noticed that Jewish songs, what we think of, are always in a minor key? Because they, in their hearts, I believe, they still don't believe they have their deliverer. They still believe they're oppressed. They're still looking for salvation. They may know all the good things about God, but they're still looking to be delivered. So they sing in a sad key all the time. So, here's what I want to tell you again. Here's the difference. You may start out your worship with the right words in a minor key, but at some point you've got to move from not having a deliverer to knowing who your deliverer is and believing that he's already here. At some point, your worship has to move from looking like you're in childbirth to looking like you're at a party. I'm not being critical. I'm not. I know there are times to intercede. I know there are times to dig in like that. But I'm telling you, from a stance of victory, we got to move from childbirth to the party. What I saw over this place was joy breaking out in this place and ridiculous worship breaking out in this place. So you are having a party in worship. So that the toil and the weight of the night is over and dawn has come.
Amen.
You guys know the phrase. You know that Judah means praise, right? You know that. You know that. You know when God sent out the warriors, he sent out Judah first. He sent out praise first. You know that in the Bible, Perez was the son of Judah. Perez means breakthrough. Which came first? Judah or Perez? Judah. Judah came first. Praise came first. And then praise fathered breakthrough. But you have to come from a place of not just like, oh, please God, please give me breakthrough. You gotta get out of the place of hanging on by your fingernails and moving into the place of, I'm having a party.
Yeah.
Because I know horrible things happen. I know that. I've lived through it. I've lived through every horrible thing. I've had a really good life. But I've lived through some poop. But I know that in the middle of poop, what Satan wants is he wants my joy. And he wants my peace. Because if he can get that away from me, pretty soon I'll give up. And he can kill me. And the atmosphere that I set in a room with everybody else. So if I set an atmosphere in my home of just hanging on till Jesus comes, I have set that atmosphere for my entire family. We have a responsibility to live with a kingdom mindset. We have a responsibility to make sure that we tell our spirits the truth, and we live in peace, and we live in joy, and we have a party in the middle of our pain. Why? Because we're faking it? Nope. Because we believe what he said. And we're going to make our emotions come into line with who Jesus is.
Amen.
I feel too bad. That's why I don't do counseling. Too bad. I'll save you a lot of money. You'll be done in one session. Worship is a weapon. It's a weapon. Oh, it's my wrong finger. Which finger did I use this for? All right. Here's the last thing I'm going to give you. The other weapon that you've got to use is perspective.
Yeah.
Perspective. We already talked about this. We have the mind of Christ. You guys know this verse in Isaiah. He will keep you in perfect peace, whose mind is set on him because he trusts him.
Yeah. Amen.
You want peace? Check your perspective. What's your perspective? Who's bigger, your problem or your God? Amen. Whatever's bigger is what you're idolizing. That's what you're worshiping. What you put your focus and your attention on is what you are worshiping. I'm preaching to me, man. I'm not just preaching to you.
You're preaching to us.
I'm telling you, pull your weapons out. Pull your weapons out. Don't wait for church to worship.
Amen.
Blast it up in your house and dance in your kitchen. Get ornery about it. I mean, Shannon, we talked about this already. We've taken seasons. My daughter losing her emotional mind was much harder for me than my daughter having cancer. Doesn't mean I love one more than the other. It's just one was a choice and one wasn't. But Shannon was such a strength for me through that and got me through my teenager freaking out. But I can remember, so we take seasons, but I can remember one night, man, I don't remember, things happen like, something would happen every day or every week or something, and you'd be like, oh man, when is this gonna be over? And something happened on a night that we had church. And it was just heartbreaking. I don't even remember what it was, but it was heartbreaking. And Shannon was sitting in the chair in the living room and he said, I'm just not going. I can't go. I'm not going. I can't do it. I can't do it one more time. I can't. You see, church people have the probably not good luxury of choosing when you go to church. Pastors don't. If we didn't go to church, like church people are like, I'm not going to go, so-and-so's mad at me. Man, if your pastor didn't go to church with somebody who's mad at them, they'd never go to church. Somebody's always mad at you. You didn't paint something the right color. Or, I'm not bad mouthing our church. Our church is awesome. But do you know what I mean? There's always somebody that's irritated. I had a guy came out and got me out of my car one day in the parking lot. I'm climbing in my car and he goes, wait. Nancy, wait. And I'm like, okay. I get out of the car and he goes, I just wanted to say I'm really sorry for all the things I thought about you. Thanks. I'm glad you feel better. So, yeah, you just, people have their stuff, and you happen to be the face in front of them, so you're the one that gets puked on. It doesn't necessarily mean it's about you. But anyway, he just said, I'm not going. I'm not doing this, I'm not going. And in a rare moment of kingdom mindset for me during that thing, I just said, well, I'm going to go. You can stay here. I said, some demon would love to think he finally got us to the point where we're just going to let our church go to hell. And I said, I'm not doing that. I'm going. So you sit here. It's fine. Get better. I'm going. I'm not letting some demon, do this too. And I didn't feel like going either. I don't remember what happened. And I'm not saying, trust me, there were many times when he got me through that. That was probably my one rare moment of gloriousness through the whole thing. And so that's why I remembered it was the one thing I did right. But fight. But fight like God tells you to fight. Live, but live like God tells you to live. Live in peace. Live in abundance. Don't you know it's the most you ever tried to irritate someone and you just couldn't do it? Maybe you haven't. I have, lots of times. So often. But like when you try to irritate somebody or intimidate them or whatever, and they just won't be intimidated, and they're like, oh, la, la, la. And you're just like, I love doing that to Satan. I love it. I love it. So when he tries, I'm not saying I always feel like it, but I have to get the presence of mind to stop myself and crank up some worship music and just start dancing in my house. Start dancing in my kitchen. Put on something ridiculous, and just laugh. Just laugh. Put on Barney 5. I don't care. Put on something and just laugh. Don't give him the satisfaction.
Come on. Yeah.
of pulling you into an ungodly mindset and an ungodly life patterns.
Right.
And I feel like what God is doing in this church, you have loved well. You have loved well. You have gone through the night well, but it's morning.
There you
Not
go.
you are just M-O-R. It's time to dance.
Yeah.
It's time to war like nobody else in this region wars. It's time for you to war from a place of joy. It's time for you to war from a place of laughter. It's time for you to war from a place of peace. It will be like nothing anyone has seen. And it will be so powerful, because if he can't take your joy and he can't take your peace, what's he going to take? If everything else is secondary, if you know, like, in the end, I'm all good. I'm all good. In the end, I win. What's he going to do with you?
That's right.
All right.
That's right.
Stand up with me. I'm excited. I'm excited about what God's doing here. It's not a corrective word. It's not. It's an encouragement. That God is bringing you into a new season. He's giving you new, well, you already have the weapons, but he's showing you new ways to use them. So God, I bless this house. I bless this family. I declare joy over this house. This would be a house of joy. This place would be the party house.
That's right.
This family would be the party family. This would become the place, this is a place where people want to come and hang out because they're happy. Because they're joyful. Because even though they may not know all the answers or the hows, they know the goodness of their God. And they believe it with everything in them. Yeah, we bless this place. We bless these people. Some of y'all are not used to being the fools at the party, but you're going to be. Some of y'all are going to be the happy drunk. It's going to be in the spirit. But you're going to be the happy drunk in the party. You're going to need designated drivers.
Or sleeping.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you just sleep in the church on the floor.
There you go. Now you can. Get yourself some dollies to load people up on. Get them out to the car. Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah. Yeah, and seriously, with Judah, then comes Perez.
Amen.
With praise, then comes breakthrough. So all the things that you've been pressing into, God is bringing breakthrough. God is bringing breakthrough. Yeah. I feel like there's an inheritance in this place, in the spirit, that's been waiting. It's been waiting to be had. Like it's been waiting to the right time. And I feel like that time is right here. That there's an inheritance in the spirit of things that have been prayed into by people for a long, long time. And the Lord is saying, now's the time. I'm giving you your inheritance.
Yeah.
Inheritance doesn't come to the person who created it. Inheritance comes to those it's handed down to that didn't even have to do it. I feel like the Lord's saying, I'm giving you the inheritance of those who've gone before you. And they have paid into it. Yeah. So we bless this place. We bless it. God, we just say everything you have for them.
Yes.
You would just blow their socks off, that you would bless them in ways they just never dreamed, that you would show them you are far more fun than they ever dreamed.
Yes.
Yeah, this place would just be such a place of your glory. Such a place of goodness. Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Lord. You got anything to do?
Yeah, just one thing.
Yeah, it's so good. I do know this, that how many people by raised hand have moved to Sandpoint in the last 8 years, 10 years? Look at that. Yeah. You don't move to Sandpoint without purpose and intention. I mean, it's a great place. It's a wonderful place to be in terms of all of the stuff in the summers and everything like that. But you all in this house were brought here for a specific purpose and intention of the heart of the Father. He gathered you together for this time and this season. And you know, it's like when we have people move to Utah. You don't get to Utah by mistake. Nobody's lining up and saying, "Hey, let's move to Utah." You know? And I feel like that's the same with Sandpoint. You guys didn't get here by mistake. You didn't maybe know why you were coming when you came, but you just felt this draw to be here. And I'm telling you, what we see in this house is absolutely unique because it is a gathering place for the prophetic, for the supernatural, for the outpouring of God's presence, power, and spirit. It's a gathering place for intercession to rise up. It's going to turn. It's going to really not just shape the region. It's going to shape nations. Is what's going to come out of Sandpoint, Idaho. And you ain't seen nothing yet in terms of the people who are coming. And what I'm saying is get ready for people to come, but also get ready for people to be placed quickly to where they need to be. Because people who are going to come with an anointing on their life that have been prepared in the furnace room of His love for decades before they got here. That's right. And so they're going to be ready when they land on the ground. That's right. Okay? And so get ready. Get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready. I can feel it in the spirit churning that you guys ain't seen nothing yet. And so we really do bless you. We bless you. We bless this region. We call it what it is. It is a fiery furnace for things to be birthed out of this region. And so we love you and we bless you. We bless your leadership. You guys have treated us so well. Thank you for allowing us to come and be a part of who you guys are. We feel so connected to the heartbeat of what's happening here. So bless you all. We love you. And so, Jim, here you go. Thanks.